What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe, neversay.com, and the topic for today's video is going to be detrimental deadlift mistakes that you're making at lockout, but not really at lockout, and we're going to get into explaining all of that here very, very shortly. But first, I did want to tell you guys, for the first time ever in my career, I'm actually working with a company after that last trip out to Mark Bell's gym and being with the team and seeing how everything goes on. If you guys have watched the channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I've actually used strong sleeves and like strong wrist wraps and all the Slingshot gear exclusively for about 4 years without any kickback, without anything. It's just, I use it because I believe in it, and it's honestly my favorite stuff. So when I was out there, they talked to me about maybe being part of an affiliate program, to which I said yes. So from now on, anytime you're in the market for sleeves or any type of supportive gear and you are interested in getting some Slingshot stuff, make sure that you use the code DIEEMPTY at checkout so that you can save some money and you will give me some money. Currently right now, they just dropped these new white knee sleeves. You guys follow my Instagram, you'll know I've been pushing these a lot. They're actually really, really cool. I love them. They're the same strong sleeves, so these are sleeves I use all the time, except they are white and the only ones that make me look less red, but it's not really true. It's still definitely red. But because these did just drop, they have a ton of good deals going on right now, so I will leave the link in the description box down below. But remember, DIEEMPTY at checkout to save you money and to give me money. Now, on to the topic of the video, which is the basic idea here is we've all been in this situation. Maybe it wasn't for a 1 rep maximum, maybe it was for reps, but you're doing deadlifts and everything is going exactly as planned until it isn't, because it's like the finger of God just said no. And literally at this point, someone could hold a gun to your head and there is no way you're moving it. Now, of course, the easy internet answer that you're gonna get is that you need to work more of your upper back, you have a weakness there, do rack pulls, do things that are gonna build your upper back, and I'm not saying that you are wrong. But for most people watching this video right now, it has more to do with technique than it does to do with strength. Most of you, much like myself, are stronger than your deadlift actually shows because your technique is not as good as it should be. That is exactly where I'm at. I have more strength then I can techniqueify. So I need to work on it. And if you've ever found yourself in the middle of this deadlift lockout dilemma, I would tell you that most likely what happened is that you gave something up at the beginning of the lift. You gave up some real estate that by the end of the lift, you could not get back. And so what I'm gonna go over is 4 basic ideas here that are gonna help you guys if you've ever run into this problem and stop you from ever running into it again, so that hopefully all of us can actually have good deadlifts. So the very first situation I'd like to address is not locking your lats in at time of setup. So this will typically manifest itself as you guys see someone start to apply force to the bar. If their lats are not locked in, it will literally look like their upper body kind of unravels. And when that happens, that might be able to be overcome. In reality, it might even help you get that bar moving off of the ground. However, by the time that you get to the top of the lift, you can't get your shoulders back. You might be able to at lighter weights, but as things get heavier, you will find you cannot get that real estate back. So this is the very first problem that I see a ton of people do. And trust me, it's completely understandable. Learning how to lock your lats in is very obscure. It's a strange thing. If I tell you to flex your bicep, you can absolutely do it. If I tell you to flex your lats, you kind of look like you might be choking. But luckily for you, smarter people than I have come up with a couple cues that have helped a lot of people with this predicament. Now, the one that I like the best and that I personally use is to bend the bar across my shins during the lift. This helps the bar stay more over top of the middle of my foot and helps it keep in contact with my body throughout the entire lift. But of course, different things work for different people. So if that cue does not make sense in your head and you cannot get your body to do what you want to do, another cue that works for people is to stick their shoulder blades in their back pockets. Now, personally, that one makes my head kind of spin, but for some people, that works perfectly, so definitely give it a try and see if that helps you get your lats packed in. Now, the third one that has worked very, very well for me as well is when I'm in a setup position, I want to cover my armpits with my shoulders. That one's probably the most basic and the easiest to start out with, but also guys, in my other deadlift tutorial videos and deadlift help videos, I talk about video recording yourself so you can get your setup absolutely perfect. And it's gonna be very, very important for you to be doing this directly from the side so you can see what's actually going wrong in your deadlift. Because if you're just going by feel, a lot of times your reality and perception are 2 very, very different things. So I would highly tell you to set up your phone, stick it inside your shoe, do whatever you gotta do, but start looking at your setup and really decide whether you're actually locking your lats in or not. Now, another thing that I'll regularly drill as part of a giant set prior to actually doing my pull is a straight arm lat pull down. Now, my gym does not have a lat pull down machine. It doesn't have any machines, but we do have bands and they work well enough because you don't need to be doing this for any sort of weight, all right? It's just about trying to increase that mind-body connection and get you to actually start firing your lats the way that they're supposed to fire so that when you get to your deadlift setup, you'll actually be able to use those lats and feel them start to cover your armpits or stick them in your back pocket or whatever cue you were deciding to use. You'll actually start initiating your lats, which will help keep that bar close to your body, which is gonna stop you from unraveling, which will hopefully help you finish your deadlifts nice and strong instead of kind of stranded out there in the middle of nowhere zone. The second issue I'd like to address that I see a lot of lifters doing from beginner all the way to advanced is that their hips shoot up too fast. Now, what I talked about before with the video setup and watching those videos to explain how to get your setup better, this is gonna help you a lot because maybe your hips are just in the wrong position, and if you just change where you started them, all this could be solved. However, most likely what's happening if your hips are shooting up too early is one of two things. The first of which is that you're jerking on the bar. Now again, jerking on the bar is completely understandable because when you decide to actually take off with this deadlift, you want everything to go at once and you want to literally explode like a sprinter taking out of blocks. However, what actually happens is you still have slack in your body, you still have slack in that bar. And so when you go to yank on it, what happens is all of that slack comes out, there's an equal reaction that pulls you back down, and then your pull actually starts. However, all of your angles have changed because your hips got shot out of dynamic. Everything's screwed up. Anytime you change your hip angle in the deadlift, it also typically changes your arm angle, and you need to think about the deadlift almost like a crane picking up a heavy weight. It will not let that weight leave the ground until it hits a point about 90 degrees from the point where it's lifting. So that's exactly what your body's gonna do here. If your hips do indeed float up, then that bar is going to float forward and it's going to need to correct before the lift actually starts. There's so many things that go wrong when you jerk on the bar if you would just take your time and be a little bit more patient with your pull. As things get heavier, you will find that as you start to initiate the pull and nothing happens for a couple seconds and then it starts to leave. Everything can be absolutely perfect and the bar still doesn't leave. It's almost like it needs a little bit of time to get convinced before that inertia will break and it'll actually leave. But again, this is no tutorial video, so if you do need more explanation about pulling the slack out of the bar, make sure you check out my other deadlift videos. But when you do it, I want you to think about coming at the bar almost like a sprinter jogging to the starting line. Like I said earlier, when you say everything goes at once and you say go on the deadlift and your body all fires and you jerk on that bar, basically that's like a sprinter going dead out of the blocks from a dead stop. Now, think about someone coming at it from a jog and you're both gonna start at the exact same time. If you can carry a little bit of momentum into the actual pull, you will do so much better. You will absolutely win that race every single time. So pulling the slack out of your body and pulling the slack out of your bar and being patient for that thing to leave the ground before you let your body get all out of shape to make that thing move is going to get you a lot further longer, but it's not gonna help at all if you guys are still jerking on the bar. Second thing that could very likely be driving those hips up early is that you do not have enough air in your belly and you're not bracing it down. If you guys need help, again, tons of videos on that stuff elsewhere on my channel. However, if you don't have enough air in your belly, it cannot stay rigid enough and it will tend to bend and you will look very much like a scared cat. If you guys think about the analogy of a soda can like I talk about in those other videos, if it is sealed and shaken up, it can support a ton of weight. It is a very rigid object. However, all it takes is opening that thing up and releasing the air out or not having enough pressure inside of it and that thing will bend, it will dent, it will crumble, it cannot support anything. So when you guys are doing this, if you do not have enough air in your belly, you will definitely fold over, which is another big reason why people's hips shoot up. And the third thing that I think you should address if you're having problems with the deadlift lockout is to change your brain, man. Look, the secret to this entire game is the cues. It's being able to get your brain to tell your body to do something that it does not want to do. You're basically tricking it all the time. If you can figure out the correct cues in your head to trick your body to do the things that you want to do, you'll lift heavy things. If you can't figure that out, you won't. So much like I was talking about with those cues to get your lats locked in, I want to talk to you about a couple cues that are going to help just in general with the deadlift, especially at the lockout. The first of which is if you are having problems with your hips shooting up, you need to think about pushing the world away instead of picking that bar up. Now, I know this is something that I've talked about at length, but this is so, so important. The problem is that when you go to pick up anything else in life, if there is a heavy box of books on the ground and you go to pick it up, you do not lift it with your legs. You do not get it over the center of your body, get a breath, push away with your legs. There is no leg drive involved with that. You bend over, you grab the box, and you tell yourself, pick this box up, and that's what you do, right? You just simply hinge. It's all back. There's nothing else involved with it, which is pretty much the exact opposite of what you want to do at the start of a deadlift because you want your body to be able to stay as rigid as possible and you want your leg drive to get that bar moving. So pushing the ground away, just saying that in your head instead of actually picking the bar up can make a massive, massive difference. If you guys need more visual cues, other videos, I stand on bands, almost kill myself. It's a good time. Another cue that I have to tell myself all the time is chest up and chin down so that I'm able to keep a neutral spine in my deadlift because much like many of you, when I decide to take off of that deadlift, everything in my body is saying up, up, up to include my neck. But the problem is when you crane your neck up and you start looking at the sky, it bends your spine in a lot of ways that make you weaker. Plus you can strain yourself. There's a lot of things that can go on wrong there. However, the main thing is it's making you weaker, right? So in order to keep a neutral spine, what I tend to do is think about my superhero emblem or whatever's on my chest. I keep that up and I keep my chin down. Now, I do not keep my chin tucked to the point where it's at my chest. I just keep it at a neutral level. Now, trust me, it's still going to flip up a little bit at the beginning when you are still learning how to do this. Mine still does, because when your brain says up, you're still gonna do a little something. Now, another one of the biggest reasons why you do not wanna crane your neck up like that is because for a lot of people, what happens is when your neck goes up, your knees come forward, and that's going to promote a lot of ramping, which isn't going to make the lift good anyway. But it's not a strong position. So if you wanna fix it, remember, chin down, chest up. And then finally, a lot of times at lockout, one of the biggest problems that people run into is ramping. Sometimes it is because you're looking up, your knees bent, and that promotes it, and you'll just slide it right up your legs. But one of the biggest things that is going on when people are having trouble, struggling at the end of that deadlift, is that they are trying to pull that bar back to their butt instead of moving their butt towards the bar, which is breaking the very, very principle that I talk about all the time of you always want to move your body around the barbell. You never want to move the barbell around your body. That barbell is gonna be most efficient in a straight line. So if you find yourself in that position, if you pull that barbell towards your butt, number one, you're pulling it into your thighs, which is not helping any friction at all. Secondly, you're gonna be ramping that bar. And then thirdly, what you should be doing is thinking about firing up your posterior chain, getting your hips, your butt, everything working by flexing them and pushing them towards the bar. You won't ramp it, and hopefully you will finish that lift. Which finally brings us to the fourth reason why you may be having problems with your deadlift lockout, which is that your upper back's weak, man. Much like I started with the easy internet answer, yes, very likely you could always use a little bit more upper back strength because it will forgive a lot of sins and a lot of things that you do incorrect in the deadlift while you're learning it can be overcome if you are just brute strong enough. So guys, as much as I'd love to see you working your technique all the time, I know that's not always gonna happen. So if you guys do focus on your upper back, doing things like deadlifts of all variations, people will be like, yeah, well, you wanna do the rack deadlift. And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely do wanna do the rack deadlift, that'll work the upper portion, but snatch grip deadlift's great too. So stiff-legged deadlift, so is the trap bar deadlift, so is every single deadlift going to help build up your upper back. If you're doing all variations, all different rep ranges, trust me, your upper back's gonna be big and it's gonna be strong. Also, do not neglect rows as well as weighted pull-ups. Both, I preach a ton on this channel, but both do so much to build up both your rhomboids, your lats, everything that you're going to need to hold that bar in position close over top the center of your body and close to contact with your body. That was a lot of close. Just trust me, the stronger lats will lead to a bigger deadlift. And then finally, guys, I know it doesn't really have to do with your upper back, but when you are doing your core exercises, I want you to choose things that are going to be more about breathing and bracing the same exact way that you would on a deadlift or a squat. So something like a plank or a hanging leg raise, something where you are not crunching your body up. Doing something like a crunch or a sit-up could actually kind of teach your body the opposite of what you want to do. You want to be able to push those abs out so they're supporting as much weight as possible. Again, like a soda can, you do not want it to be able to dent and collapse, or else when you do your deadlift, that's what we're teaching it to do. And trust me, your body will always fall back on its training. It absolutely never rises to like a new level because you're super pumped up or you're at a competition. It will always fall back on what you have been teaching it. All right, guys, there you go. There are 4 potential things that could be going wrong at the beginning, middle, end of your deadlift, anywhere that is stopping you from achieving that lockout, getting that good lift, and hopefully that new PR. So if you can apply some of these tactics to your training, to your program, hopefully it will help you out, because they definitely have helped me out in the past. Remember, if you guys do buy anything from Slingshot, if you are in the market for that, then definitely use the code DIEEMPTY at checkout so that I can get some money, you can get some money. It's all good stuff, it's good gear, definitely check it out. Other than that, guys, I will be catching up with you later in the week. Until I do go out to something amazing, realize, keep working hard, people, be nice to each other. I'll see you then.